Welcome to another show. Kevin is away from the studio today. I'm Ted, and I'm proud of the fact that Kevin chose me to narrate this show over dozens of others, or as proud as an AI-generated voice can be. Today, we look at the villains in Spider-Man movies, plus look at the villains in the upcoming Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Scooby-Doo this crap.
You know, all this is kind of your mess. I know a couple of magic words myself, starting with the word please.
Please, Scooby-Doo this crap.
Over the course of 10 Spider-Man feature films, 4 different versions of Marvel Comics' Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, have battled a huge number of iconic villains, though some have been more formidable than others. After a live-action project centered on the friendly neighborhood, Spider-Man had lived in development hell since the 1970s. Sony Pictures finally acquired the film rights in 1999 and immediately set plans in motion to bring the wall crawler to the big screen. Long before Spider-Man joined Marvel Studios' MCU, Sony produced 2 separate franchises featuring Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the lead role, though Tom Holland would portray the superhero in the MCU. Sam Raimi led production on 2002's Spider-Man, 2004's Spider-Man 2, and 2007's Spider-Man 3, with Mark Webb taking over for 2012's The Amazing Spider-Man and its 2014 sequel. After a deal between Sony and Marvel Studios went into effect, Spider-Man was introduced to the MCU in 2016's Captain America: Civil War. While Sony has developed the Sony Spider-Man universe focusing on Spider-Man villains, Tom Holland is still the only current live-action Peter Parker, though Miles Morales has adopted the moniker in 2 animated Spider-Verse projects so far. We aren't going to look at the villains in the animated films today. They will get their own video at a later date. Every Spider-Man feature film has pitted the web-slinger against a slew of powerful villains, though some are considered much better than others.
Spider-Man? I didn't know you worked outside New York.
I don't, usually.
The TV series never used any villains from the comic book. However, I wanted to find the best example from that show as an homage to the first live-action Spider-Man, Nicholas Hammond. One episode, the series finale called The Chinese Web, stands out as the best of the TV series villains. An old college friend of Mr. Jameson fleeing China to live with his Chinese-American niece because the Chinese government has falsely charged him with being a spy during World War II. While Peter Parker tries to prove the man's innocence, he must contend with a henchman of a British Hong Kong businessman who will do anything to get a new Minister of Industrial Development who will ensure that his firm gets a lucrative business contract with Hong Kong. While the rest of the series was filmed in New York and Los Angeles, the series finale includes many scenes which were filmed in Hong Kong. The Chinese Web, Part 1 and 2, was also released theatrically in many different territories from 1979 to 1981 under the title Spider-Man: The Dragon's Challenge. It was also released overseas on video in its full version. This episode was released on its own on videotape by CBS Fox Video in the early 1980s and by Rhino Home Video in the late 1990s. You can find the whole show here on YouTube. Portrayed by Bokeem Woodbine in Spider-Man: Homecoming, Herman Schultz is technically the second Shocker, but he's the only one worth mentioning. As Adrian Toombs' most loyal henchman, Schultz was ready to take up the Shocker gauntlet when his co-worker was incinerated, and willing to fight the Spider-Man one-on-one. The Shocker gauntlet is a refurbished item, borrowed from the deceased Brock Rumlow, better known as Crossbones. It generates blasts of non-specific electricity that can either shock an opponent or pummel them with kinetic force. It's also loaded with hydraulics for added super strength.
You have my eyes and ears! What's your name again?
How could you forget me?
Oh, I do, I know it, don't tell me.
It's Max.
Is it Max?
Maxwell Dillon was a down-on-his-luck electrical line repairman when he was struck by a lightning bolt at work and transformed into a living human dynamo. He could not only carry an electrical charge, but he could manipulate it as well. He soon discovered there was almost no limit to the things he could do with his new electrical abilities. So he created a flashy costume and embarked on a life of crime. Even when the title passed to Francine Fry after Dillon's short-lived death, the name of Electro continued to strike fear into their enemies, while some of Spider-Man's villains stand out in his rogues gallery due to their manipulative schemes or impact on Peter Parker's life. Electro is different. He's never really cared who was underneath the mask, and he usually only wanted to make a quick buck or a name for himself. However, Electro's deadly power set elevates him above other superpowered thugs. Thanks to his powerful electrical current, he was even one of the first villains to easily defeat Spider-Man in their first meeting. Spidey has remained cautious when dealing with Electro ever since.
Just a typical homecoming on the outside of an invisible jet. Finding my girlfriend's dad.
Adrian Toomes, introduced in Spider-Man, Homecoming, is a grounded and pragmatic villain. As Vulture, he wielded salvaged Chitauri technology to create advanced flight gear and weaponry, turning him into a formidable aerial threat. What sets Vulture apart is his deep motivation, protecting his family and his livelihood after being cast aside by Tony Stark's damage control crew. He's not out for chaos or power, but his methods are dangerous and increasingly criminal. Vulture nearly killed Peter multiple times and was smart enough to deduce his secret identity, proving he's not just brawn with a jetpack. Despite lacking superpowers, Toomes' resourcefulness, technological weaponry, and ruthless pragmatism make him a serious threat. However, his scope is relatively small, operating more as an arms dealer than a global menace. Still, his ability to nearly outwit Spider-Man earns him a respectable ranking.
Jig's up, pal.
I don't want to hurt you. Leave now.
I guess you haven't heard. I'm the sheriff around these parts.
Flint Marko, Thomas Hayden Church, was an escaped convict who desperately needed to pay for his sickly daughter's medical treatments. After his body became infused with sand after accidentally stumbling into an active particle experiment, he soon developed the ability to transform his body into many shapes and sizes. Now dubbing himself the Sandman, he became determined to steal the funds necessary to save his daughter. Spider-Man 3 is often considered the weakest in Sam Raimi's trilogy. However, it's Thomas Hayden Church's perfect casting and tragic performance as a desperate father trying to help his daughter that helps make this iconic antagonist one of the greats.
All these souls, lost and alone, I can save them. I can cure them. There's no need to stop me, Peter.
When Dr. Kurt Connors crosses over into the MCU from the Amazing Spider-Man universe in Spider-Man No Way Home, he brings a unique threat as the Lizard, a hulking, regenerative creature with super strength and a dangerous ideology. Unlike some villains who want power or vengeance, Connors believes in forcibly evolving humanity into reptilian hybrids. While not as intellectually cunning as Norman Osborn or as tech-savvy as Otto Octavius, Lizard's raw physical threat and regenerative capabilities make him a terrifying opponent. He's shown to overpower multiple characters and survive intense damage. However, Connors is also the most isolated of the multiversal villains, and his motives don't evolve much during No Way Home. He poses a serious physical danger, especially in confined spaces, but lacks the psychological or world-ending potential of others, keeping him in the middle tier of MCU Spider-Man threats.
Fury always had to die, but not you.
Stop hiding back!
Goal, vindication, and revenge after being humiliated by Tony Stark. Mysterio is known as one of the evilest Spider-Man villains, and Jake Gyllenhaal's portrayal of the villain brought a layer of deception that makes him feel a different type of dangerous. Tricking Peter Parker into trusting him, Mysterio pretends to be a father figure to Spider-Man after Tony Stark's death, yet only does so to get access to the hero's technology. His objective might not be polished, as he seeks revenge and vindication after Tony Stark humiliates him. Still, this version of Mysterio does quite a bit of damage to Spider-Man, including revealing his true identity.
I want to kill the spider. You want to kill the spider. Together, he doesn't stand a chance.
Interested?
Portrayed by Topher Grace in Spider-Man 3, and later by Tom Hardy in his own standalone movies, Eddie Brock was a rival photographer embarrassed by Peter Parker, who just so happened to meet an alien symbiote that had just been rejected by Peter. It was a perfect match for mutual revenge, and thus Venom was born with one objective in mind: hurting Spider-Man. When the symbiote was made to give up its hold on Spidey, it took an imprint of his superpowers with it. Somehow, perhaps fueled by hatred, the suit seemed to imbue Brock with an exact replica of the web-slinger's abilities, and an enhanced set at that. Venom is stronger, faster, and more agile than Spider-Man, and he doesn't trigger the hero's spider sense. Plus, he's got a few added symbiote goodies. such as claws, fangs, and the projection of seemingly unlimited goo.
What do you want?
To say what you won't, to do what you can't, to remove those in your way.
Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, Spider-Man, No Way Home. As his company was on the brink of collapse, Oscorp CEO Norman Osborn, Willem Dafoe, opted to test his highly unstable super soldier serum on himself to speed up results. Though he gained super strength and agility, the serum, unfortunately, created a sinister, split personality within Norman's mind, eventually turning him into the monstrous Green Goblin as he terrorized New York. With a frightening array of gadgets and costumes, Norman, as the Goblin persona, invoked fear within the minds of his enemies, and was willing to commit any terrible act just for the pleasure of it. After his defeat in the first Sam Raimi film, Norman was eventually brought back to life in No Way Home, where his treacherous actions eventually led to tragic outcomes. After Norman Osborn died, his son, Harry James Franco, would become the new Green Goblin. Before we look at our #1 pick, let's take a look at the villains in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Produced by Columbia Pictures, Marvel Studios, and Pascal Pictures, and distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. It is intended to be the 38th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the 4th film in the MCU Spider-Man film series following Spider-Man. No Way Home. The film is being directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. Following Dr. Stephen Strange's spell at the end of the film, Spider-Man No Way Home, the world has forgotten that Peter Parker exists. 4 years later, Parker anonymously protects New York City as the hero Spider-Man and investigates a powerful new threat while his superpowers undergo a surprising and potentially dangerous evolution. First, there's John Bernthal as Frank Castle the Punisher, a vigilante who, following the brutal murder of his family, aims to fight the criminal underworld by any means necessary, no matter how lethal the results are. The film follows Castle's role in the Disney Plus television special The Punisher, One Last Kill, which explores his psychological state going into Brand New Day. Then there's Michael Mando as Mac Gargan Scorpion, a criminal who wears a suit of armor equipped with a mechanized scorpion-like tail. He was previously captured by Spider-Man and arrested in the film Spider-Man: Homecoming. Also, Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner, the Hulk, a founding Avenger and genius scientist who, because of exposure to gamma radiation, transforms into a muscular green-skinned humanoid when enraged or agitated. Banner is now a professor at Empire State University. After Banner successfully merged both sides of his personality into Smart Hulk in the film Avengers: Endgame, Brand New Day sees him regressing to his uncontrollable, rage-filled Savage Hulk persona. Additionally, Marvin Jones portrays Lonnie Lincoln Tombstone, a crime boss with albinism, near-indestructible skin, and superhuman strength.
And these monstrous things should be at the bottom of the river.
The brilliant scientist Dr. Otto Octavius, Alfred Molina, wanted to create a device for the benefit of humanity. However, when the device went haywire on its first test run, the outcomes led to the artificially intelligent mechanical arms he used in the experiment to corrupt his mind. Going by the supervillain's name, Doc Ock, he became determined to rebuild his machine, even if it meant hurting innocent people in the process. The tragic downfall of this once revered scientist has become well known amongst Spider-Man fans, as he became Peter's most emotionally conflicted adversary. In both Spider-Man 2 and No Way Home, Otto eventually sees the errors of his horrible deeds after realizing he never wanted to be a monster, and helps Peter save the day. And that was our show for today. What did you think? Who is your favorite Spider-Man villain? Least favorite villain? Are you looking forward to Spider-Man Brand New Day? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section below, and while you're at it, I'd be honored if you subscribe to the channel, click the little bell to stay informed, and check out the Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter franchise in the comments. Until next time, this is Ted, in for Kevin. Given saying, live long and prosper, may the force be with you, and keep reaching for the stars.